Good morning. Just let that play itself out. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Already got a pretty good contingent in the house there. Dan Cullen was the first off the mark, as he so often is, but at a reasonable time today. He was actually here at 9:59. Good morning, plant porn addicts, ladies and gentlemen, and filthy animals alike. Yes, indeedy. Who else have we got here? Peter McKenna says, good morning, fellow operators and showmen. Showmen, that's a new one. Ken Hatter is in the house. He's got the rain. We had a couple of spots this morning, and I think we're going to get some more this afternoon. So I'm battening down the hatches as we speak. Gary Muirhead has said, good morning, Mark. Good morning, everyone. Fantastic show last night, as always. And Mike is a very knowledgeable person. I do need to say a couple of things about last night. Well, first of all, apologies because it ran for 2 hours. That was never the intention. I think I originally told Mike that it would run for half an hour. Yeah, we're not really very good at keeping times, are we? But I also wanted to say a big obviously a thank you to Mike for giving up his evening to take part in the show last night. But I also wanted to thank you lot. You lot asked some absolutely top-notch questions. Really got into the meat of the matter, which is fantastic stuff. I will be talking to Mike again in the not too distant future about doing something on robotics and AI. As he mentioned last night, he did his dissertation on the potential for AI, virtual reality, robotics in demolition. So it'd be good to revisit that and take a closer look at what might be coming down the tubes as we speak. I do want to quickly flag up the fact that I need to be out of here by 11:30 at the latest today. So having overrun so spectacularly last night, I'm not planning to do the same again. Let's have a look. Who else have we got here? Graham, Footy Williams is here. Chris Ford is here. Good day to you all. Friday can't come quickly enough this week. Yeah, often feel like that. Dan Cullen, loving the cap. Yes. If you look very closely, let me do it this way. Finnish flag one side, American flag the other. Yes. Thank you, Alu, for the cap. For the cap. I'm quite surprised you can see it because it is camouflage pattern. I kind of thought it just wouldn't, you know what I mean. Jim Turner's here as well. Morning, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Jim says, thank you to you and Mike for last night's show. I was working, but I had an ear on it too. Sometimes the best. And it was very audio last night, to the point where I may actually rip the audio from that and turn it into a podcast at the moment, if I get a chance. Do excuse me. Dan Cullen says, 2 hours of knowledgeable information. Footy says, would have been there, but didn't know it was on, unfortunately. It's still available. Yeah, it's still available. You can catch it over on YouTube's or Facebook or LinkedIn, anywhere else you care to go. Peter McKenna says, sorry, I missed it. As I say, it's there for all to see. And Steve Williamson has just joined us. Good morning to you, Steve. And I'm going to say a very quick good morning to Komatsu Italy, who have just joined us over on Instagram. And we're going to, our first film today is actually Komatsu, so keep watching. Let's have a look. Peter said, if your room was full of trees and grass, the camouflage would probably make you invisible. I'd just be a floating head. Some people say I'm already that. I caught the tail end. Yeah, Steve made his apologies on yesterday's show that he couldn't be here last night, and then lo and behold, up he pops, which was always welcome. Right, as I say, I'm going to be out of here for 11:30 today. I have places to be and people to see. So, without further ado, I am going. Let me have a look. Wow, you are worldwide. Yes. Listen, one of the things that there are many things that surprise me about this show, and that is one of the biggest. The fact that, we on a regular basis, we have people, particularly on Instagram, watching from New Zealand, Australia, Papua New Guinea, bizarrely. Lots of people from Turkey, lots of people from Italy and Germany and France, lots and lots of people from the States. I don't know quite what they make of the show. I don't know quite what they make of my accent, certainly. But they tune in, and I'm glad to see them. So good buongiorno to everybody at Komatsu Italy. I'll be back in just a moment, but I do need to roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this fine, upstanding show on the road. So here we go. Peter McKenna has just said, I did catch the beginning of last night's show, but I thought it was a recording of yesterday's daytime show. Oh, how wrong I seem to be. Maybe I just need to do a wardrobe change. If I do a morning show and then do an evening show, maybe I need a wardrobe change just to ring the changes and show you that we're not just regurgitating stuff like so many other publishing houses do. That's a whole other story. It is Thursday, the 13th of June. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, we're going to be hitting the heights with the mighty Komatsu. We're going underground with John Deere. It's a family affair for Wacker Neuson and one of their customers, plus developing with Develon. It's the best I could do this time in the morning. Before we get to all of that, we have the small matter of today's mystery machine. And let me put it like this. I'm going into today's mystery machine more confident that I will win than I ever have before. So let me roll the animation, and then it's your turn to see if you can beat me. Here we go. Right. Would you like to see the mystery machine? I think you probably would. That's what you've got to work with. Now, I'm so confident in today's, I'm going to give you a couple of clues. First and foremost is it's a current machine. I've not gone back through the archives. It is a current machine available today. Can't tell you much more than that, but see if you can figure it out. But as I say, I'm feeling very, very confident today because not your common or garden machine, this one. Let me put it like that. Hope that points you in roughly the right direction. While you're trying to figure that out, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day, which looks a bit like this. Yep, our question of today comes once again from that bottomless pit of intrigue and curiosity, Mr. Gary Muirhead. And his question is quite simply this: what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? I've got two, and one largely contradicts the other. The first lesson is that collaboration is vital if you really want to succeed. There are so many hours in the day, you can't do everything yourself, and you can't be good at everything. Collaboration really is the pathway to success. This show, for example, would not look or sound half as good as it does without the backup of my son Fred. But the second most valuable lesson I've learned in my career is that everyone is in it purely for themselves. That people will let you down and stitch you up just to get ahead themselves. Now, I'd never really thought about that until this morning, but maybe that's why I work purely with family these days, because I can trust my family way more than apparently I can trust other people out in the wider world. But I'd like to hear from you. What is the most valuable lesson you have learned as part of your career? Did you receive some sage advice early doors? Have you picked up some tips and tricks along the way? Love to hear from you. Let us know in the chat, and we will come back to that after the show. And let me just throw this up very, very quickly. That is the mystery machine as it stands. Let me give you a smidge more. There you are. That's what you're working with. Let's see. Sorry, chat went a bit squiffy there. Gary Muirhead has gone for a Hedromec HMK 102B. It is not. Steve Williamson has gone for an Atlas. It is not one of those. It's not a Hyundai HX88 either. Jim Turner says one of those spider diggers. It's not one of those either. No, not fine. It's bloody fantasies and spectacular show, Mark. Not sure what that relates to. Maybe that's because Peter McKenna missed the show last night. I don't know. But yes, please let us know. Well, let us know what you think the mystery machine is, and also let us know what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career thus far. Let me take that away because we do have some good stuff to show you right after this. I probably shouldn't be amused at this, but I am. Komatsu Italy, thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, have just entered our question, not our question of the day, our mystery machine, and they are guessing that the mystery machine is one of their own, an EW160E. It's not. It's not one of those. I'll show you a little bit more in just a moment. But speaking of Komatsu, let's talk about Komatsu. Lucky enough, back at Intermat to catch up with my mate Simon Saunders to talk all things high-reach excavators. And we happen to have a video camera and some rather expensive audio equipment pointing right at him at the same time. So, Simon, take it away.
The 390 is here with the K100 system. The 390 HRD has been in the market since 2017. In what we now call the conventional boom change configuration, but today we're showing for the first time the K100. The machine that we see here is in extended high reach configuration, reaches a maximum height of 26 meters to the pin. In that configuration, it'll carry a 2.5 ton demolition attachment, and the machine in that configuration weighs around about 63.4 tons. We can reconfigure the machine into the normal 23 meter high reach. We can also have the machine with the digging attachment fitted. In that configuration, it's around about 12.5 meters maximum height. And we can also use the digging attachment with the extension boom. In that configuration, it's about 15.5 meters maximum height. Whenever the dig boom's fitted, the maximum attachment is 4 tons. Since we introduced the K100, it is actually becoming more common. It's increasingly popular for the contractor to actually change the configuration while the project's going on. The inspiration behind the K100 was that we knew the machine was incredibly versatile at its heart, and we wanted to make that more accessible to the customers, just to give them the opportunity to use the capabilities of the machine to the max. The demolition sector itself is, I think, very, very interesting. Every job site's got its own different challenges, and I really enjoy personally speaking with the contractors and learning actually from the contractors. And for us, that's what drives the technological challenges and the engineering challenges that we have with these machines. Ever since I've been at Komatsu for the last 24 years, we've been strongly focused on the demolition industry from the factory, and we really enjoy developing machines that do what the customers need to do. And that's a key point. There's no point in us developing something that the customer doesn't need. Everything we do has to do a job that the customer needs us to do.
Yeah, top job by Simon Saunders there. The K100 system that he was referring to, Simon is actually based out of their Berkeley factory, and I can tell you, they actually developed that K100 system, and it is absolutely top-notch. Anyone that made it to Balmer and seen that in action will know just what a good machine that is. And I have to say that PC390 was one of my picks of the show at Intermat. Absolutely top-notch. Gary Muirhead says, can't you get someone from the Komatsu demolition team on the show, Mark? That's it. What do you know, funnily enough, I have spoken to Simon about that, and yes, I think we probably can. I'm currently speaking to Volvo about getting them on the show, probably sometime in July, I would hope. I would like to be able to figure that out. I'd love to get somebody from Liebherr on the show as well. But Komatsu, yeah, we've got a very good relationship with Komatsu, and maybe Simon would be the person to do that because he's very knowledgeable. And I'm sure I've told you this story before, but during my trip to Japan, and it's one of the most memorable trips of my life. But Komatsu, Japan, you feel very, very, very foreign. You don't speak the language, you can't read the signs, you can't read the menus and everything else. And I have to say, in all the places I've been, I mean, I felt perfectly safe. It's a lovely place, and it's full of lovely people. I felt perfectly safe, but I did feel a bit like a fish out of water until the first morning I came down out of my hotel room, stepped out of the lift, and stood right in front of me, Simon Saunders. Familiar face, made it a whole lot better. So thank you very much indeed for your input, Simon. I will reach out to Simon on that basis and see if we can get him or one of his colleagues on the show. That's a fantastic idea, Gary. Our quizmaster and possibly co-producer of the show. Now we do need to go back to our mystery machine, which we have discovered is not an Atlas, it's not a Volvo, it's not a Hitachi, it's not a Volvo ECR 25D, it's not a Kubota D722. It's not a Mechalak 7.5 tonner. It's not a Eurocomac 25ZT either. It's not a Hyundai HX85, and it's not a Volvo 88. Yeah, I told you I was feeling confident. Let me show you a bit more. Maybe this will help you along the way. Bit of colour there. Is that orange? Is it red? I'll leave you to decide. Keep the guesses coming in. I'm not feeling any less confident so far. Got some good answers coming in on our question of the day, which is, what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? We'll come back to all of that in just a moment, but we do need to press on because I have a deadline to keep today. So here we go.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, John Deere. Let's talk about John Deere. I wish I'd done the maths on this. Do you remember how long ago Hurricane Katrina was? I can't. Was it 2009? Was it? Bear with me a second. I should have done this before the show, but Hurricane Katrina, 2005. So we're about to go over to talk to or to look at a John Deere customer, and they are basically helping rectify New Orleans. What is that? 15 years later. Did I say 2006? 18 years later, I should say. Yeah, 2000. Or did I say 2005? I'm confusing myself. Anyway, Hurricane Katrina was a long time ago, but they have put together a fund which is allowing them to renew the infrastructure below the city of New Orleans. Let's go take a look.
The ground conditions on this job are very bad. Our soil is very unstable, very wet, very hard to manage. You kind of need to know what you're doing. My name is Evan Conravy. I'm the owner of Subterranean Construction. We're based in Mandeville, Louisiana. Today we're on a job site in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is a FEMA project from the Hurricane Katrina funds. We are doing total street construction. My company does all the underground construction, the sewer, water, and drainage aspect of it. And then we hand it over to the general contractor who comes and repaves the street. A lot of this infrastructure under this street is probably 100 years old, if not older. This aging infrastructure that does not get dealt with in a timely manner. But because of the funding source for this job, New Orleans is able to fix a lot of streets right now. When Subterranean first started, we probably only had 5 or 6 guys, and now we have from 45 to 50 employees. I try to be involved in each one of them's life a little bit. You got to be more than just a name. You want to take pride and you want to help people if you can, and as long as they give you a good day's work, you try to help them.
Well, as a mainline operator, if I'm down, then nothing moves, so we got to keep going. If I'm not digging, nobody's doing anything. We're not making money, we're not making progress, just got to keep moving. And John Deere allows us to do that. My dad was in construction, just kind of followed him in the construction field. I started with Subterranean, came on as a mainline operator. I've been here ever since. You got to look up, you got to look down, you got to watch the people walking under you. But it's all part of the job, and that's kind of what I like about it. I do like the challenge. We come across some pretty high power electric lines, gas lines. I like all the obstacles I got to go around. John Deere has power and smoothness. I could pick something up and stretch out as far as I want, and still have my tracks on the ground. And that's how I tell when a machine's really strong. But these are really good for these narrow streets, and that's very helpful around here.
John Deere excavators have a very good reliability. They're very efficient, they're very smooth and well balanced. My John Deere dealer is top notch. John Deere is different in the service because they back up what they say.
Yeah, I have to say, I agree with Dan. They're not full circle pipes. I noticed that when I watched the film last night. Wonder what that's about. I wonder if that's a thing. Now, CSW Groundworks, our friend Craic has just joined us. I also spotted him. He's over on Instagram, but he's also here on YouTube as well. But he's got me coming through in stereo. I would have thought that would be more than enough for anybody. I can tell you my confidence on the mystery machine today was wildly misplaced because somebody has got the right answer. Before we get to that, Jim Turner says, it's coming. More machines being used as a platform for many functions, but the changeable jib mounts need standardizing so companies can invest in all the different arms and attachments, but not be tied to one machine or manufacturer. It's a good point. It is a good point. Hard one, that though. Would Komatsu really want to make their base machine workable with a with a Caterpillar boom. Yeah, maybe. Gary Muirhead says, I would also love to see your range of video chat with the amazing guy, Marco Lorini. I think the guy is an absolutely amazing guy. Don't worry, I'll keep you busy. Just on that basis, I'd love to get Marco Lorini on the show, but for entirely personal reasons, I'd much rather go to Italy and do it face to face rather than doing it online. If you see what I mean. Let's have a look. You don't see many Chinese brands in the USA. They seem to use local manufacturers. Very true. They are big Cat fans, big John Deere fans, big Case fans as well. But I would say of all the places I've been, I reckon that XCMG are making the biggest inroads in the States. So, horses for courses and all of that. So going back to our mystery machine, I can tell you, Steve Williamson went for a Yanmar. Tis not. Peter McKenna. Tortuous route. He went for a Kubota XN12-9. It is not any of those things. In actual fact, Peter had already got the right answer, and I'm staggered at this because I didn't think anyone would. He correctly identified it as a rhinoceros. Yes, there's a mini excavator called a rhinoceros XN08. That's exactly what it is. I actually took some photographs of the rhinoceros stand over at Balmer. Whenever Balmer was 2 years ago, and yes, mainly because it was called a rhinoceros, but that's what it looks like. Rhinoceros XN08. That's exactly what it is. Congratulations, Peter. I tip my cap in your general direction because that was a tough one, I would have said. Our friend Demo Darv, Andy Darvell, has just joined us as well. Good morning, Andy. Good of you to join us. Wow, not seen any in the UK. Funnily enough, I saw them first at Balmer, and thought, would you Adam and Eve it? There is a machine there called a rhinoceros, and then I spotted them over again in Italy when I was over at Samota. So they are drawing ever closer. Steve says, never would have guessed that, nor would I, to be perfectly honest. Peter, well done, says Dan Cullen, and somebody else said the same. Yeah, Gary Muirhead says, well done, Peter. Yeah, well done indeed. I have to say, where are they from? Never heard of the brand. Where are they from? 3 guesses. Yes, China. It is. They are Chinese. Not entirely sure how the Chinese would pronounce the word rhinoceros. I'll leave you to insert your own jokes there. And Andy Darville also said, well done, Peter. We're going to crack on because we're done with mystery machines. You can still take part in our question of the day, which is, what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career, for those that have arrived a little bit late. But we're off to Wackerland in a moment. So first this. I often mention some of the things that I love about this show. One of the things that I really love is how this show has kind of evolved. And I don't necessarily mean my bit. Obviously, I always do the, without further ado, let's roll the intro. And I always finish with leaping gazelle like over into the chat. But you guys have got your own thing as well. So the mystery machine, we've resolved the mystery machine. We've had people guessing the mystery machine before I've even shown it to you, which you have decided is now a thing to do. And the other thing that you've decided to do is claim that you knew the answer even when you quite clearly didn't. Well done. Well done indeed. Excuse me. Jim Turner says, I love Marco's love for the business. He comes across as a real enthusiast and not just a company owner. And I like the way he seems to look after his employees too. I've not got his business card. I mean, I speak to him, but I've not got his business card. But somebody told me that on his business card, it says Marco Lorini, dreamer. If that's real, that is the greatest thing I've ever heard. Steve says, this month I'll be letting you know how I'm getting on with a new car. Will be different, but looking forward to it. Yes, Steve, I mean, he's an advocate for all things electric anyway, but he is properly joining the electric revolution. He is going to get himself a nice new electric car. Now, there were several things that came out of my head when I saw that. And the first of them was, bearing in mind where Steve is, he's up in the Highlands of Scotland, which is a little bit remote, and they have weather. They have proper weather up in his part of the world, and yet he is confident enough with both range and chargeability and everything else. I thought that was dead interesting. So please let us know. I hope you don't come back in 6 months' time and say, I rue the day I ever saw a bloody electric car. Are you using the K100, Andy, says Dan Cullen. I think he's on the Kiesel machine, isn't he? In which case he is not, but I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, I think that brings us up to date. So should we go and do a bit of Wacker? Should we go and do a bit of Wacker? We haven't whacked for... I'm going to leave it there. We haven't whacked for quite some time. Let's go and do a bit of that, shall we?
My name is Norm Knief. I'm the retired president of Lincoln Contractor Supply.
My name is Aaron Knief. I am the president of Lincoln Contractor Supply. I have officially been full-time since I graduated college in 2001, but I have worked here since the late 80s.
My dad opened the company when I was 12. After school, I would jump on my Schwinn, ride out to Lincoln, empty the wastebaskets, do whatever. I never applied for a job anywhere in my life.
Just kind of clicked for me. I loved working here. We're in the warehouse. Got to know the staff. I actually became friends with a lot of them, and it just was a natural fit for me to want to come and work here.
Well, my dad founded the company in 1956, and in 1963 or 4, I believe, Wacker came and wanted us to be their distributor in the state of Wisconsin. And of course, being a local manufacturer of a pretty high quality product, my dad jumped at the chance.
We rent and sell everything from rammers, plate compactors, diaphragm pumps, trash pumps, generators, compact rollers, SM100, the ride-on skid steers. We even get in the ground thaw with Wacker.
The equipment we've always gotten from Wacker has been good quality equipment, and it is brand loyalty. We've always been a Wacker dealer my whole life. When I started in the late 80s, we always had yellow equipment. On top of that, the service that I do get from you guys, if I do have an issue, you guys are always right there.
My dad, myself, and my son are all good Christian people. I tried to run my business that way. I had customers that I knew were cheating me. I didn't care. It's not worth losing a customer over an event when the guy is 40 years old and he's going to be a customer for you for the next 25 years.
I think it's the family legacy. Here I am, third generation, trying to keep it to the fourth generation. I've got a 10 and a 12-year-old daughters, and I don't know what the future holds for them. If it holds them working here and getting it to the fourth generation, that's what I want to do. It's more about my grandfather Al and his legacy as a businessman, taking a chance on himself. We've been successful to this point, and I want to keep it going.
Love the serendipity of these shows. Gary Muirhead's question of the day, he had no idea we were going to play that video. His question of the day is, what is the best... Let me look back. I can't even remember what it was. I said, most valuable lesson that you've learned as part of your job. That guy talking there, Mr. Knief. Never met a Knief, but Mr. Knief talking there, setting aside the Christian values, because that's not really my thing, but the fact that he knew some customers were cheating him, but he stuck with them. Is that a valuable career lesson right there? I wonder. Dan Cullen says, love the attitude of the Americans towards manufacturers, employees, and listening to their operators. Something companies in the UK should follow. Absolutely. Still can't believe that Wacker have been going for 175 years. Yeah, they most certainly have. Dan says they don't jump brands, keep going through years, building a fantastic friendship with the manufacturers. Yeah. And I mean, listen, if you've been with a manufacturer for 20, 30, 50 years or whatever it might be, I would imagine you can just pick up the phone and speak to the boss and say, we've got an issue, can we... I thought, there's a lot to be said for that. Let's have a look. Going back, Demo Darv is on the KMC, the Kiesel or the KTEG KMC 400. Yeah, I'm on it today, having a bit of a tidy up today before we carry on making a mess. That's demolition writ large right there. Come back to that one. Marco Lorini, Jim Turner says, that's probably why I respect him so much. I'm a dreamer too. Do my job on autopilot whilst thinking of better ways for machines to be more productive and efficient, or totally new machines. There's a few of them floating around in the noggin too. Oh, if only we could open gently and under a general anaesthetic, open Jim Turner's noggin. No, we'll come back to that one. Steve says, I think he's talking electric cars. He is. You have an app. Okay, that tells you where the charges are. When you plan a journey, etc., to Edinburgh, I need to stop once there and back, and tells you where. So to drive there and back will roughly cost me £26, a lot cheaper than fuel or train. So looking forward to it. It's all about setting timers at home to charge off and off-peak times. Full charge at £6. It's when you go to rapid chargers, they cost about £18 to £25 for a full charge. Plus, it regens the battery when in cities and then we've lost the end of the thing there. But yeah, I think that's one of the benefits, but also one of the concerns. As people probably know, Peter Haddock drives a Tesla. Very nice it is too. Been in it several times, and it's a lovely car. I wouldn't mind owning a Tesla at all. But it has literally changed his life, and mostly for the positive, but not entirely. He has rewired his house. He's got solar panels. He has switched to a different electricity supplier, and he now plans every journey, as Steve has just described there, plans every journey around his car. He chooses hotels because they've got a supercharger. He goes via specific routes because he can charge en route. I'm not sure I'm well organised enough for that. Maybe. Well said, Jim Lorini, yeah, distant relative of Marco Lorini. Yes, okay, so enough of all of that stuff and nonsense. We will come back to all of that in just a moment. But, we do need to press on because, as I say, I do have a deadline to hit. So, hang on a minute, we just had my other half has just said, it's wine o'clock. It is 10:34. Now, I realise she's in Greece, but I would imagine that her body is still very much on UK time. And yet, at 10:30 in the morning, she's already reaching for the vino. I may need to have an intervention. Lots of hotels and shopping centres offer free charging. So you're getting 250 miles for free. How is that? How bad is that? Who is Ruth Anthony anyway? I don't know. She's the woman that abandoned me with a pile of ironing to do. That's how I would like to remember. Good morning, Ruth Anthony, a true professional. Oh, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? What we got here? Would that not be a headache as you've got to get to work by car? I don't know how far Steve works from home, but yeah. Let us know. The apps are fine, but as a friend found out, they aren't always updated. At the moment, there is a craze of nicking the charging cables, even at high profile charging points. My guess is the bit of Scotland that hosts Mr. Williamson and his good lady wife is probably largely crime-free. I would like to think. So yeah, where were we? What have we just done? We've just done Wacker, haven't we? So in that case, it means we need to do a smidgen, a soupçon of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
And in answer to the question about charging cables for electric cars being stolen, Steve comes up with a perfect rebuttal. He says that's why you have your own cables in the car at all times. Yeah, that is the warm blanket of the future. You remember I'm sure I'm sure up in Steve's part of the world, that is probably still the advice. If you're setting off on a journey in the winter, make sure you take a warm blanket with you, just in case you do get stuck. Yeah. That's great, says Peter. If you can plug directly into public chargers, not all allow that. I don't know enough about the subject, but I'm sure this is one that can go back and forth as we carry on. We're almost at we are at our final film. And it comes from the fine folks at Develon. I'll let the film speak for itself, but I think you're going to enjoy this one.
My grandpa started the company in 1947 with just a bulldozer doing some land clearing and lagoon type projects. Myself and my two younger brothers are third generation coming up in it. I oversee the operations, so I'll dispatch all the guys and equipment to the different sites. My dad, he had ALS and just passed in 2020. I grew up learning from him. Rash Construction's been using Develon equipment for close to 5 years. Devin with RTL has put some very good deals together for us to get our foot in the door with some bigger equipment, and he's just been great to work with. They took us to Arizona, which was great. Got to try out all the different equipment and models and sizes they have. We were really impressed with their wheel loaders. Ended up purchasing a 320 wheel loader. It's really quiet, smooth, a lot of power. It's got integrated scale, so we can load trucks, make sure they're legal on the roads. It's got a quick coupler, so we can switch to forks and haul pipe with it. It's got a transparent bucket function on it, so when it's loaded, you can see in front of you, so you don't have a blind spot. The new dozer has been a good investment. The visibility is really nice. The shape of the Develon dozer with the hood and the glass and everything, you can see really well out of it. The screen's laid out so that you can see all the things you need to see right down in front, right where you're looking. Mini X's seem to be nice and roomy in the cabs, smooth, a lot of power. I like the compact radius equipment that do well for our sewer jobs on city streets. Most of our guys have been with us 10 plus years. We've been able to retain the employees, I feel, from the family atmosphere we've created, and just treat people like you'd want to be treated.
That is another one that we could add to our most valuable advice. Treat people like you want to be treated. Not a bad bit of advice at all. We have a divided camp on electric cars. In the red corner, we have Steve Williamson says it won't be a choice in a few years. It will be all electric for new cars. I'm inclined to agree. But in the blue corner, Gary Muirhead says, no, thank you to electric cars. You can keep them for Scalextric. Oh, Scalextric. The hours I spent putting the cars back on tracks because I had a heavy finger. I'll be the one laughing when you all get your electric machines and cars. And you will too, won't you? Looking all smug. Yeah, absolutely. I am going to get to the end of the show in a minute, and as I say, I do need to be out of here by 11:30. But I wanted to show you something. When I can find it, it is here. This is the news from Construction Inquirer this morning. The discovery of more build problems across legacy sites has blown a hole in Crest Nicholson's latest results. They've made a £31 million loss. The house builder confirmed 15 million of legacy contract problems in March at 4 jobs completed by its now closed regeneration division. But a wider review of jobs across the whole company has unearthed further problems, resulting in the provision being increased to £31.4 million. The group has undertaken a comprehensive review supported by external consultants on the group's completed sites. Initially, work focused on 4 sites that were completed prior to 2019. Subsequently, in order to achieve a higher level of confidence in the adequacy of the cost estimates, the review was extended to cover all 140 or so sites. The review of completed sites has now concluded, resulting in a one-off charge of £31.4 million. How do you make that many mistakes on a site? That's the question. The live show will soon be everything electric. Well, yeah, but maybe that will be the case. Maybe that will be the case. you might recall I did actually start an electric equipment website, which I have to admit I've rather allowed to stagnate because I was expecting the news to be coming through rather more quickly. But it's sat there, it's dormant at the moment, but it will be coming back because without question, there is going to be a whole lot more to talk about in the fullness of time, not least Steve Williamson's conversion to an electric car. Gary Muirhead says, we've got a DD130 working in Dumfries in the forestry project. I saw there was one on display at the Royal Cornwall show the other day, and my guess is if it was at the Royal Cornwall, it may well be on display up at Hillhead in a week and a half's time or thereabouts. They call them loaders, not loading shovels. Yeah, they do. They do indeed. It's like them that say GPS is shit. Then the boss gets them in, and it's the best thing. Yeah, I do wonder about these kind of things. I reckon if you got to spend any actual time, and I don't mean like 5 minutes at an exhibition, but if you've got to spend a day or a week operating an electric machine, I think that could well win over a good few people. I really do. Jay Waters over on Instagram said, get people taking it themselves on site. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's related to, but if you can let us know, I'll come back to that in just a moment. Dan Cullen says, Develon loaders are more powerful than equivalent Volvo loaders, as been told by a loading shovel operator. Is that right? Is that right? I'd love to hear if anybody's operated both, if you can give me a bit of feedback on that. 100% not electric car, as not 100% reliable and not environmentally friendly, as opposed to petrol and diesel cars, which, as we know, are environmentally friendly and 100% reliable. Really? Really? I'm not going to do my Jim Carrey impression again, but really? Okay. Okay, Dan, says Steve. Yeah, I agree with that. There was one at the Scott plant too. Lovely dozer. Yeah, I've only seen the DD100 so far. Saw that at Con Expo a while back. Oil rigs burning diesel like no one's business. Yes, indeed. It's like a game of table tennis, isn't it? Pro-electric, anti-electric. Pro-electric, and you can tell I'm a ping-pong expert. I'm a whiff-waff player, as Boris Johnson would have you know. Right, people, I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. I am going to focus primarily on the question of the day. So if you have the time and the inclination, please do stick around. If you can't, then, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues, and I hope to see you again very soon. The Craic will be back immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Good day, one and all, and a very big thank you to all of you that took part last night. Really appreciated your input. That video of talking about what goes into bringing down a chimney by explosive demolition, it will survive forever. I mean, it will live on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on YouTube forever. But it was made so much better by the fact that you guys were there actually asking questions. I've always time for you, Mark. Hello. Got to be honest, Steve. Wife's away. You're looking more attractive by the day. Gotta say. You've no idea how safe you are up in the Highlands. Let's have a look. I'm going to concentrate on the question of the day because I think I've said good morning to everybody. The question of the day, when I can find it in the feed, came from Gary Muirhead. What is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? We've actually had a couple of life lessons out of today's show. Mine, as I said, collaboration does get stuff done quicker. I mean, I can do a bit of this. I can certainly write a story if you like, but the bits in between, I'm a terrible video editor. I'm a terrible videographer, to be perfectly honest. So that's why Fred is on board, and that's why Fred gets the big bucks, I guess. But collaboration, but also, and unfortunately, it is, and I know it's the nature of business, and maybe over the years I have been overly naive, but you do learn after a while that everybody is in it for themselves, and even those that pat you on the back and tell you what a great job you're doing and how good a friend you are will quite happily stick a knife between your shoulder blades just to big themselves up. So it's a lesson that's hard to take, but it is absolutely true. Peter McKenna immediately into the fray with this one. Question of the day: what is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career? He says everyone is dispensable. Yeah, it's one of those weird things, having to teach your kids that. I've got a couple of children who are all about the work ethic. They're at work an hour before they're due to start. They leave work an hour after they're due to finish, and they are properly bought into the cult of the company they work for. And yet, full well, if there was a cutback, they'd be out the door just as quick as anybody else, and they are dispensable. Very, very true. Steve Williamson, always take pride in your work. You will always be remembered if you are a rough-ass operator. Yep. All true. All true. This one's a little bit more subjective. Question of the day: don't quote health and safety advice to colleagues or bosses. It doesn't always go down well. Yeah, ain't that the case? Ain't that the case? Gary Muirhead, you're never too old to learn something new for the industry, and every day is a school day. Every day it absolutely is. I've told you, I must admit, I'm slacking a little bit at the moment. I think I'm up to about 20 books. So I want to do 52 books in the year. I'm up to, I think, 21 now. And I really, that last bit, every day is a school day. I am trying, even if it's something very, very minor, I am trying my level best to learn a thing every day. And some of it is, related to work. Some of it's related to personal life, but I'm trying to learn a thing. I'd like to go to bed every night thinking, I learned a thing today. That's a good thing. Yeah. Yes. Can't you get someone from Komatsu Demolition team on the show, Mark? I literally, as soon as I've got to go from here, I've got to go out. When I come back, first thing I want to do, I want to drop a line to the fine folks at Komatsu and see if we can arrange just that, because I'd love to do that. And oddly enough, maybe they're listening. That's kind of the idea. Maybe they're listening, but I've actually had a message today while I've been on the show from Volvo saying, can we come up with some dates for us to get together in July? So watch this space, because I will be doing that one very, very soon as well. And don't forget, we do have another evening show next week with Gilles Ronnet from Caterpillar. So Mike Keogh last night, Gilles Ronnet and Caterpillar next week, hopefully Volvo in July, maybe Komatsu in July as well, or maybe in August when it's a bit quieter. We'll see what we can do. Trouble with doing it in August, I think the audience will be slightly smaller because people will be heading off on their hollybobs, and I don't want to interrupt that too much. Yep. Love to see you if you could organise a video chat with the amazing guy Marco Lorini. I think the guy is absolutely amazing. Don't worry, I'll keep you busy. I'm more than happy to keep busy, but as I say, and I do mean this. Obviously, you all know I love Italy. I love Italian food. I love Italian people. Any excuse to go to Italy, and I'm there for it. The other thing with Marco, I've not met him face to face. I'd like to see where he operates. So I'd like to get into the workshop and the factory and everything else and see all about that. But I'd also like to just sit down, just set the camera rolling, and just have a right old natter. And obviously I'll try. If we can pull that off, I'll come out to you guys and say, what questions have you got for him? But I think, bearing in mind it would be very much in his second language, I think rather than trying to put him on the spot with questions in English that he's then going to think about, I think it would be much better if I could do something a bit more planned and a bit more formalised, so we can sit down, have a proper chinwag and see what we can come up with. I'll keep you posted. Seeing if there's any more questions today. Demo Dove says, give the young guys a chance. Let them have a go on your machine if they're showing an interest. That's how I got a chance to get onto the higher reach for the first time. That's a whole paying it forward thing, isn't it? Well, kind of, or giving a bit back. I mean, that came out very, very loud and clear last night with Mike Keogh. He's a third, fourth generation demolition man. And it's given him a good living. It's about to give his son a good living as well. So he took 2 hours out of his evening last night. He probably wouldn't have done so next week because he's a big football fan, is Mike, and wouldn't want to interrupt the Euros. But he took 2 hours out of his time basically to give back free of charge, which I think is very, very admirable. So I'm very, very appreciative to anyone that would like to do that. bearing in mind, we do have obviously we've got our regulars that chat away here, but we have others watching. If you are a representative of an equipment manufacturer, if you're in the demolition or construction business and you'd like to come on and have a chat with our audience, drop me a line. We have a willing audience here that is willing to talk about pretty much anything, as it turns out. So if you'd like to tell them about your product or your solution or your software or your whatever it might be, if you want to tell somebody about something in this business, demolition and construction, drop me a line. I'd love to have you on. Peter McKenna says, all the full-time jobs I've had over the years, I've never actually applied for an advert. Always rang off the bat, generally with a chat followed by how soon can you start. Never had any interviews in 40 years. It's a long while since I've had an interview, I have to say. Not sure I'd get through one now. There was a question about chargers, but Steve says there are 1,000 chargers all over. You'll never have that problem. There are more chargers than petrol stations. But I don't want to piss on your cornflakes here, Steve, but we have all seen, I think, on Facebook, the queues at these service areas on motorways, lines of Teslas drifting off down the road because there's too many Teslas and not enough chargers. Not sure if that's a problem. Steve says we can go out for a meal and wear the same caps. I won the one on here, the same as yours. Did you? I did wonder. We were given two of these. I think that was it. Was that Conexpo? Can't remember if it was Conexpo or Baumer. We came back with two of these. I don't want to seem to be going on, but what's happening with Dr. Terry interview? I spoke to Terry a couple of months ago, and it's a weird situation we've got. Is the fact that Terry is kind of partially retired, but being partially retired frees up his time, and he's kind of available to other people at the drop of a hat, people that pay him, unlike me, who doesn't. So I will drop him another line and see if we can get a date in the diary, because there is a whole lot to be talked about there. Gary Muirhead says, a pat on the back is 2 feet from a kick in the ass. There's a life lesson for you people. Yeah, it most certainly is. Right, people, very quick reminder. Obviously, we've got Gilles René on Wednesday at 7 o'clock next week. So please join us for that. Those of you that have been watching the show for any length of time will know that Gilles is fantastic value. So looking forward to bringing you that one. I've actually got all the content here. My friend Bert over at Caterpillar has sent me all the content. I'm going to have a look through that today just to see what we've got to work with, so I'll be able to tell you more about that. But we've also got on Saturday this week, we're doing a Saturday social, basically because I have no wife at the moment and I have no friends. So Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, if you fancy a natter, no video, no agenda, no specific destination. We'll just turn up. I'll start talking and I'll let you interject. And if you want to come on the show, you can do that. You can be a guest if you wish. Jim says more chargers than petrol stations, but probably not more chargers than fuel pumps, seeing as most petrol stations have at least 6 pumps. How's the free house? In absolute truth, I've not really experienced it yet. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I did the show yesterday, then I had to get ready for last night's show. And then by the time I'd finished last night's show, I couldn't be asked to cook. So me and Fred went out for a bite to eat last night. And I came back absolutely cream crackered. So I went to bed. I've got up this morning. I've like a good boy, I've taken my tablets, I've eaten my brown flakes, I've had a cup of coffee, I've done the show. Immediately after the show, I'm going out again. So my first experience of having the house to myself will probably be about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So if you listen very carefully, you may be able to hear me snoring. You started to walk about naked yet? Nothing better. See, you all assume that there is clothing below the waist. Not always. That's a lie. There always is. It is short sometimes, but there is always clothes. Have a wonderful day, guys, and stay safe and enjoy your day. Thank you very much indeed, Dan. Must have been a late meal out last night. Yeah, we've got a couple of restaurants very, very close by. One of which is kind of, it's not a Nando's, but it's Nando's-ish. But they do a very, very good half a chicken with mango and lime marinade that they scorched all to buggery, and chips and coleslaw and all that kind of thing. All good health, all the major food groups represented. I feel quite healthy having done it. There was even some salad, which I ate like a good boy. Ruth, if you're still watching. So yes, that's what I did last night. It'll be something a little more home prepared this evening, I think. Don't know what, but I'll be doing that at some point. Enough, people. I'm going to call it a day at an hour because, I can. I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll also be back on Saturday, and then we've got a whole week of shows for you next week. So everybody, as Dan has said, go out, stay safe, and enjoy your day. Please do that, and I'll be back tomorrow. The difference is you can drive into a petrol station, fill up, and out within 5 minutes. To charge your car, 30 to 45 minutes sitting and waiting. Yeah, but I'd appreciate that. I'll sit there and fanny around on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. I'll listen to a podcast. Somebody said to me, go and sit somewhere for half an hour and do nothing. Oh, where do I sign? I'd be all over that. Achieved 8413 says hi back. Don't know where you are, don't know what you do, but you're on Instagram, and I'm pleased to see you. Martin at Norwegian Earth Mover has just joined us in time for me to say good morning, Martin, goodbye, Martin, because we're closing the show down. 22 minutes on a full charge on the new car, more money in the bank, always a good thing. There's the other thing you could do. If you've got 35 minutes to do nothing, you could sit there and count the money that you've saved by going electric. You could do that. Anyway, enough. That is almost precisely 1 hour. Enough. I do need to say good morning to Edgar Dorodo. I'm not going to try and pronounce your name, but he says, Buen dia desde Argentina. Good morning, Argentina. Edgar, thank you very much indeed for joining us all the way from Argentina. Somebody said earlier in the day that this show is international. There you go. We've just ticked Argentina off the map. I really wish I'd done that. I really wish, instead of all that crap on my wall there, I wish I'd had a map and we could stick a pin into various bits of the map when people join us from the show. Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic? Lots and lots of... Maybe I may get round to that one of these days. And Steve says you could spend more on caps. Buy caps? Buy them? Surely not. Unless somebody's handing me a cap free of charge. But I have bought a John Deere one in the past. I have to be. And I bought a Caterpillar one in the past as well. I bought a JCB one as well once. But by and large, all of my caps were gifted. By and large. Right, everybody, please go and have a fantastic day. Do look after yourselves. I'll be back 10 o'clock tomorrow, and if I can hold out for another 10 seconds, this will be exactly 1 hour. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, done.